Hola, buongiorno, hello, and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove, and I'm joined by my amigo, my paisan, Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Buongiorno, principessa.
Did you call me princess?
I did.
Hello. So my three greetings were in Spanish for Real Madrid, Italian for Juventus, and Welsh for Cardiff, because that's where the Champions League Final will be hosted.
Yep.
Welsh for hello. I looked it up. Hello.
I heard your little voice translator thingy. I couldn't really make out what it said. Apparently it said hello.
It's hello with one L. So there may be some different pronunciation on it, but I'm not going to do a Welsh accent.
Furious Welsh listeners are going to let you know whether or not you're right or wrong.
Well, they can email me in Welsh.
Sure. Daryl at TotalSoccerShow.com.
Sure is.
Done.
So we are here to preview Saturday's Champions League Final.
That we are.
It is Juventus versus Real Madrid.
That it is.
In Cardiff.
There it is.
We're going to do 10 things to look out for, 10 things to watch for in the Champions League Final. I guess, should we just get straight into it?
Sure.
No messing around? All right, Taylor, tell me, what are you going to be looking out for?
I'm going to be looking out for who goes where. It's a pretty simple one. But the two kind of consistent narratives that you'll see in the lead up to this game are what are Madrid going to do and what are Juventus going to do in specifically regards to two things. For Madrid, is it Isco or is it Bale, and what does that do to their shape? For Juventus, is it a back three or a back four? Yeah,
these are the only two sort of selection headaches for Zidane and Allegri, respectively. So shall we start? Let's start with Real Madrid, since I
honestly think that's the way to start, not just because they're the holders, but because I think that dictates more so what Juventus will do and not the opposite.
Okay.
That I think if Madrid start Isco, they're more likely to be in that kind of 4-3-1-2, which kind of defaults to a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
And in that setting, I think it does go to the back three of Juventus. I think it fits more a little bit there. That's what they did against Monaco, who go out in the 4-4-2. So I think you'll see that. If it's Bale, then Madrid are more likely to be in an attacking 4-3-3.
Like Ronaldo on the left, Benzema centre forward, Bale on the right.
Mm-hmm. And that lends itself a little bit more to a back four.
So, okay, but how will Juventus know, right? Because theoretically, they both submit their lineups at the same time, and you have to take your best guess at what the other guys are going to do. So unless we see like Allegri sort of hiding out behind Zinedine Zidane with like a telephoto lens,
well, you could do two things. One is you can drill both and practice both. Then you wait until the official lineups are announced, and then you say, okay, we're doing this. It's a little bit risky, obviously.
But you've either got Barzagli as part of your back three or not, right? You can't just suddenly add in a centre-back.
You could wait and see. You could see who's warming up. No, not really. So, I mean, I think what that does lend itself to is guessing. That you have to kind of back yourself to say, okay, this is what I think they're going to do. Or just, look, this is the formation that of the two gives us the best chance. That said, from everything I've read, everything I've heard, everything I've seen, it seems like it will be Isco because Gareth Bale, even if he is like 99% fit, Isco is 100% fit, and so you maybe want to go with the guy who's fit and been there.
That's where I'm leaning. I think, you don't, if it's a 50-50 choice between two players who you're impressed with both of them, which seems to be the Zidane situation, you just go with the guy who's definitely fit, right? And then, so Isco starts, then Gareth Bale can come off the bench and literally change the shape of the team and the game, inject some pace as well if needed. Right? That's the way to do it, I think.
And one thing Madrid experienced firsthand when they were playing the Champions League Final against Atletico Madrid a while back was Diego Costa saying, I'm good to go, coming in, still having a hamstring injury, having to be subbed out.
I guess Gareth Bale's not a horse placenta injected into his leg.
This is true. But even in the Women's Champions League Final today, Alex Morgan played on an injured hamstring, started the game, had to be subbed out in the 23rd minute, I believe it was. You don't want to have to burn a substitute that early, and then you're also changing your entire game plan because suddenly you have this player that you were counting on not there. You have to change it up. So I think they'll want to avoid that. And I think you're right that then you rely on him as a second half substitute. Maybe just for a few minutes here and there, or maybe like an extra time when you're really pushing and things are a little bit more open.
Let me throw a little wrinkle at you.
Sure.
I saw Zidane say, or it could be both. They've played together, I think he said 16 times this season.
Yeah. I think that's something you say to try to throw people off, but that
it worked on me.
I can't imagine.
I followed the scent in the wrong direction.
Sure. I think there's no way that you're going to drop any one of Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, or Casemiro.
I think it would be Karim Benzema who might get dropped in that situation.
Right. Yeah. I'm building towards that, which is you're going to keep that back four, which then leads to it's got to be Ronaldo, it's not going to be Ronaldo or Benzema. And I can't see anybody really advocating for, let's drop Benzema and put in Isco and Bale, when Isco is going to kind of drop into a support role at times and be that not even an out-and-out striker, but more of like an in-between player. And then Gareth Bale's been injured. Karim Benzema has been in form. But let's sub him. Like, no, I just can't see that really sitting.
All right, so focusing on Juventus then, their big selection decision is back four or back three. Right. I think we've seen them in both. They've looked excellent in both. So you're leaning towards, if it looks like Isco, you think Juve might come out in a back three?
I think so. And I think with that in mind, that might just be what they do, because I do think it gives them, it's a little bit more of a cautious approach. And keep in mind that this is, I believe, this season's Champions League top offense in Real Madrid versus the top defense. Juve have only conceded 3 goals in 12 games so far. So I think maybe you'd see Juve be a little bit more conservative, and I do think that lends itself to that back three where you have 3 to 5 to 7 defenders depending on the situation.
So who misses it? So the centre-backs are always going to be Bonucci and Chiellini, right? Yep. Those are the guaranteed. If you're in a back four, those are your 2 centre-backs. Back three means an extra centre-back added. It's Barzagli usually. Who misses out then? Which Juve player is sacrificed on the altar of the back three?
That would be, I believe, Juan Cuadrado is probably the most likely candidate to not start if you go to the back three.
So then Dani Alves has the whole right wing, Alex Sandro has the whole left wing, Cuadrado watches from the bench.
Indeed. Or watches from the bench until he comes on as a second half sub.
Yeah, because he'll probably still get involved at some point, right?
Yes. And then the other one that I think, if we're just talking about overall selection, the other one who will miss out, but for different reasons, is Claudio Marchisio, and that's because Sami Khedira is back from suspension. So it will be probably Khedira and Pjanic in the middle.
That makes sense. Okay, one thing I'm going to be looking at, is Gonzalo Higuain's confidence.
Okay.
Because we have seen in the last, 3 summers, we've seen him have horrible misses in 3 international finals in a row. This goes back to the 2014 World Cup final. There's a mistake by Toni Kroos. He puts Higuain one-on-one with Manuel Neuer. Higuain misses. Germany win the World Cup. Next summer, he's in the Copa America final for Argentina versus Chile. He misses his penalty kick. Chile win the Copa America. This past summer, he's in the final. Again, Chile versus Argentina. He's one-on-one with Claudio Bravo. He misses. He pulls it wide. He's had golden chances to win 3 tournaments, 3 summers in a row. Will it happen again for Gonzalo Higuain? If I see him miss a really obvious chance in the first half or so, I'm worried that this Higuain narrative continues into eternity.
Yeah, and I want to say there that one interesting thing I've seen a little bit popping up here and there in the media has been both Sami Khedira and Higuain not really taking shots at Madrid, but more so the Madrid faithful. That Khedira, I think it was Khedira this week who said, I could play 10 really good games.
Yeah.
If I had one bad game, then suddenly all the fans were questioning if I was good enough.
This is about defensive midfielders being questioned because they're not Galactico enough at Real Madrid in many ways, right?
But Higuain as well, talking about how he felt the pressure always from the fans and he never felt particularly comfortable. And I do wonder if maybe that's a way of trying to sort of head that pressure off at the pass and head off that narrative of oh, he missed that shot. It means once again he's failed, by saying well, that was then when I didn't have the backing, but at Juventus I have the backing and everybody believes in me, so I'll be fine, don't worry.
Fair. And we did see against Monaco, didn't we think he was in that sort of quicksand when he missed that early header? And we were oh no, this is going to be one of those games. Yeah. And then he runs on the end of that Dani Alves back heel and scores.
Yeah.
Right?
After, fluffing a header and tripping over his own feet, I think, or just losing his footing, rather.
He did do that.
We definitely thought there was going to be one of those moments. But yeah, I think it's a good point that if, say, he gets a sudden chance, because I don't think there will be too many chances, famous last words, this one's now going to be 5-4. But if he gets that early chance, maybe he didn't expect it, suddenly it's the second minute and he's one-on-one. If he shoots that ball wide or shoots it right at Keylor Navas, maybe that confidence goes down.
I would also argue the 3 chances I mentioned from the 3 summers past were all times when he maybe had too much time. He's one-on-one with the keeper for a long time, and then you include a penalty kick in that, you have a long time to think and step up. He's much better when it's just all happening in that instant and you just have to hit it.
So here's the question then. Say this game does go to penalties. Do you have Gonzalo Higuain as one of your 5 takers?
I mean, I guess you do, right?
Where would you put him?
I don't know.
You on the spot.
You put me in the spot for a Juve penalty take. I don't even know the. I don't know the order. I don't know the batting order.
You just have to tell me. You just if you have your 5-star. Say you don't make any changes. You're going 2.
Second,
all right. Is that just a random choice?
Or put him first. Put him up there first and see how he does.
All right. I like it.
All right. What else are you looking at for in this game?
Well, you've talked about Juve striker. I'll talk about the big name, the big goal scorer for Real Madrid, it's Cristiano Ronaldo.
It is, right?
Yeah. And I was trying to think of like a different, like an interesting take for this. Like, if you see him get frustrated, he's going to stay frustrated. If you see him start with like lots of energy and enthusiasm, then see how he does. And really the reality is that Ronaldo is like kind of mercurial, and it's really difficult to really say what he's going to do, because he might be having not a very good game, but then suddenly he gets 3 goals. We saw him do that in the last round. He might be having a very good game, but he still misses chances. And I think that's a really interesting thing for me, is that Cristiano Ronaldo is a player who kind of defies the narrative. That he, even in the Euro final when he's subbed out due to injury, he's still on the sideline coaching. Like, he's still involved.
Yeah.
So it just seems like it'll be interesting to note that you kind of can't count Ronaldo out, even when he's off the field, it seems. And
it's also worth noting that, like, if you're just dipping into this game after you haven't been paying too much attention to Real Madrid or Ronaldo for a while, he's no longer the Ronaldo of old, right? Where he sticks on the touchline and he dribbles at people and he comes inside and shoots. He's a lot more like a centre forward, where he'll be uninvolved for long stretches, but then, there's Ronaldo, and it's a goal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He's that kind of like impact player who just makes a difference in 10 seconds as opposed to constantly threatening your fullbacks.
He's not streaky, essentially. If you give him a chance, he'll probably take that chance. Yeah. Unless it's a free kick from like 30 yards out and then he'll hit the wall. And
this is more controversial maybe, he's not flashy anymore. There's not a lot of tricks just for tricks' sake, and there's not stuff that's designed to sell cleats.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just, he makes a sudden sharp movement in the box, he gets away from a defender, and he heads it past your keeper.
There we go. So keep an eye on Cristiano Ronaldo, no matter where he is, no matter what he's doing. That's also probably sage advice for you, then.
Another man to keep an eye on, Sergio Ramos. So Sergio Ramos has a history of scoring important goals from set pieces. I give you the 2014 Champions League Final. He scores that late equaliser to level things up against Atletico. Real Madrid go on to win it. This season, he scored the equaliser in the Clásico, which in the long run maybe helped Real Madrid win La Liga.
Yeah.
This past Champions League Final, he scored the first goal, I believe, after a downward header from Bale. Ramos is on the end, makes it 1-0. This is a centre-back who is in the biggest danger from set pieces is Sergio Ramos.
And here's why I love Daryl Grove, because some people would just say, so you always got to be mindful of him on a corner. You got to make sure you mark him on a set piece. But you, Daryl Grove, have figured out just why he's so deadly.
Yeah, I went deep. I did some reading. I read a really good article on managingmadrid.com. I did some watching a lot of Ramos goals, and there are things that he does. This is not just an accident. It's not just strength of character and all that sort of nonsense. There's much more going on than that.
So let's talk about it. So let's say the defense is in a zone. What does Sergio Ramos do to break a zonal defense on a set piece?
Zone defense, and for those who don't know, means that you're not man marking. You are just like propping your men, your defenders, usually like around the 6-yard box, and then if anyone comes in your zone, then they pick you up, right? What Ramos does is he starts from just inside the box, makes this like bending run towards the 6-yard box, meets the ball at pace, and he sort of arrives so fast and so late that no one's ever quite sure exactly who's supposed to be marking him, but it's too late because he's scored.
So he's attacking a zone, essentially.
He's attacking the zone.
Gotcha.
If they're man marking, this is the more interesting one to me. When they're man marking,
because that's likely what Juventus are going to do.
It's almost certainly what Juventus will do is man mark.
I was about to say that's likely what Juventus are likely to do. That seemed weird.
Double likely.
Yeah.
So man marking is when you just get really tight to your man and you just hold on to him, sometimes literally, and just track him all that you can.
Right.
Ramos treats this like he's a wide receiver in the NFL, right? He like jukes left, jukes right, or like he's an old-fashioned winger trying to get past a man without the ball. So as the cross is about to come in from the corner, he just pulls all kinds of tricks, left, right, and eventually breaks away from you and sort of bursts away from you. Once he separates himself, he accelerates and then he meets the ball and then he scores.
Yep.
And the reason this is so fascinating is because we've seen Juventus be great at man marking. You've seen Chiellini or Bonucci, these are likely the guys who will be marking him, really grappling with people and just not letting them go, but also being really good at tracking when the ball's coming in and being strong enough to just shove you out the way, get there first. Chiellini heads it away. This is the ultimate test for Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
And it's the ultimate test for those Juventus defenders.
I mean,
I'm fascinated by this.
We saw them in the semi-final, like those Juventus defenders being grappled with themselves when they were trying to attack the ball.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna know what that's like. They're gonna try to know how to defend against it. But yeah, Sergio Ramos has that ability, and I think it's because of those little tricks and techniques he employs. So it's gonna be interesting to see who does what in the box on those free kicks.
Here's the final thing I want to underline, right? Sometimes you can see a corner kick and it floats in and maybe it goes out and nothing really happens. But if you watch Sergio Ramos like from the start, the first time Modric or Kroos is taking a corner kick for Real Madrid, just see one, who's grappling with him. Is it Bonucci? Is it Chiellini? It's probably one of those two. And then see two, does he get away from them? Even if he doesn't get the ball, does he manage to separate himself from his marker? And then you'll know, like going forward, like who's winning this battle, even if no one's heading it early on.
Well, speaking of battles, speaking of losing markers, that's what I would say Dani Alves is going to be trying to do. He's going to be that right wing back. He assisted on or helped create both of Juventus' goals against Monaco. In this game, I think he's going to be...
I saw a stat. He only had 3 crosses. 2 of them were assists.
There we go.
Get in.
So I'm imagining he's going to be patrolling, attacking that right wing, also defending that right wing. The man who he may be going up against on a consistent basis is Marcelo, the Real Madrid left back. So it's going to be... That's fascinating because they're both so attacking, but they both obviously can do a defensive job as well, but can be caught out a little bit at times. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two managers deal with that and what those two players do to exploit that space, but make sure they're not giving any behind them. 2
best attacking fullbacks in the world?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah?
At least at present, yeah. But it's also...
Up against each other on the same side of the field. It's exciting stuff.
Yes, and it's two Brazilians playing against each other who have that familiarity, but it's also Dani Alves with that Barcelona history. It's Marcelo, obviously, with that Madrid history. So there's the rivalry there, but there's the friendship there, but there's the similar style of play there. Yeah. So it's going to be fascinating, that right-hand side, left-hand side, depending on your perspective of the field.
I guess, and if you're thinking about it, it's going to be as much about the guys that are with them, right? Like if Juve are in a back 4, then Alves will have Cuadrado with him. If they're not, he's kind of on his own on that right flank. Madrid on that left side, it could be Ronaldo if they go in the 4-3-3, and then he's not that much help defensively. Doesn't get up and down. If it's Isco behind Ronaldo and Benzema, then you've got more of a 4, and it'll probably be like Modric sort of shifting over there. So it just depends who has the most help. It could, or who's willing to fill in as you get forward.
But here's a safe bet for you. One of the two of them will likely have the most distance covered in this game. I'd back the two of them to be 1 and 2, or at least in like the top 5 overall players.
It's going to be like ships that pass in the night. Attacking fullbacks that pass in the night.
That may happen once or twice, that they're both like, hey, I thought you were supposed to be defending me, as they run past each other. Yeah.
All right, one thing I'll be looking for on the other side of the field, Mario Mandzukic.
I've heard of him.
The big Croatian centre-forward who Allegri decided at some point this season, you know what? You can play left wing. So if you go 4 in the back, Mario Mandzukic will play essentially left wing, and he'll just do a defensive job, hold his position out there. He'll also be a target. What that means is Juve will bring the ball out of the back and hit big diagonal balls from Chiellini or Bonucci, challenging for Mandzukic to challenge Real Madrid's right back. Even if they go in with a back 3, I think he'll still pull left and do this, because they've established this weird game plan where you play a long ball, but instead of playing it central towards goal, you play it left. Mandzukic wins it because he's up against a fullback who's not as big as a centre back, and he heads it down into the path of Gonzalo Higuain or Dybala. This is a fascinating tactic, and I don't see that Madrid can do anything to deal with it, because you can't send a centre back out there to challenge him, because then you've left a big hole in the middle.
Yeah, I do imagine they'll probably have some specified tactic to deal with it, and I can't imagine it will be put a potential...
Carvajal still.
Yeah. Carvajal, who is, you said, 200% ready to go, according to Carvajal?
Yeah, he's coming back from injury. He says he's 200% ready, which sounds to me like he doth protest too much.
He says while limping and having a bandage leg. I do think it'll probably be Carvajal starting, and I do think he's probably ready to go, because otherwise you wouldn't risk it. But you're absolutely right. There's still that size advantage for Mandzukic, and it'll be interesting to see how Madrid... the thing I'm realizing is everything is going to be interesting, and I'm very excited for this game. But who they send over and how they deal with that, because you're right that is absolutely the tactic that Juve have employed to get out of the pressure, employed on their back 3 or back 4.
Yeah, they don't do it every time, but they definitely, if all else fails, we'll just bang it at Mandzukic and he'll probably win it.
And my guess is going to be that what they will do is recognize that, we can't send anybody out to deal with that. We don't want to try to double mark a player on the wing, so they will more so really do a good job of diligently tracking those players who are going to be running off. So
that's what it's about what happens after Mandzukic wins it. If Ramos or Varane or Pepe, who depends on who the other centre-back is, as long as they track Higuain and Dybala's run, it's kind of okay.
Exactly. You cut off that second ball, that's where you actually win. Everyone always says you got to win the 50-50 balls. Yes, that's very important, but it's more about winning the second ball off the 50-50 ball. That's where you regain possession. That's where you take control of the game.
What else are you looking out for in this Champions League final?
I mean, I think a very interesting narrative, more so than like a battle, since these two will probably not be very near each other, is Keylor Navas versus Gigi Buffon.
If they are near each other, then we've got a very exciting game on our hands.
Very true. It probably means someone's chasing a goal in the final few seconds. But it's Gigi Buffon, who has never won the Champions League, so this is his opportunity, right?
I still can't quite believe that.
That said, he may never retire, so who knows if this is his last opportunity, but it seems like it is. And then on the other side, you've got Keylor Navas, who has had the kind of season that you expect of Keylor Navas, where he makes some amazing saves, but then he has some downplay that gets emphasized by the aforementioned Madrid faithful who get a little bit concerned because he's not David De Gea. And so this could be a game where maybe he comes out, stands on his head, makes some amazing saves, and suddenly everyone is like, okay, maybe we don't need to spend 70, 80 million pounds on David De Gea. Or maybe he lets in a howler and it reaffirms the idea that, yeah, we got to get somebody else in there to run and organize that defense.
And if this was any other team, I would say you're putting too much emphasis on this one game, but this really is how Real Madrid roll, right? If you sort of don't perform or you have one mistake in the Champions League final, I really think it's enough to trigger a proper, fully functioning fax machine bid for David De Gea.
I mean, there was serious speculation earlier in the season that if they did end up falling behind to Barcelona in the title race and got knocked out of the Champions League, would Zinedine Zidane be fired? Like that is this club, and so and that's what
for better or worse, right?
That's the thing, is that's what makes them great, in the sense that you can't rest on your laurels and you've always got to be challenging and improving and working. But it can also mean that you can be really getting to the point where you're going to have this epic team, and then maybe you fire this person or sell this person, or they buckle under the pressure, and that can always be a downside.
Forged in fire. Can we talk about Buffon for a second then? Because I feel like a lot of people just talk about, he's old but he's great and he's one of the greatest and he's a nice man. No one really talks about exactly what he does, what he brings to his team. So I want to just take a moment to think about the athleticism of a 38-year-old man that just doesn't seem to make sense, but yet he still pulls off these reflex saves that you wouldn't necessarily expect an older man to pull off. Couple that with the sort of unflappableness. Like, I cannot think of a Buffon mistake this season. I'm sure there's been one, but you never see him make the wrong decision. It's as if he's like already seen into the future and knows the things not to do.
Juventus fans, I got this for you. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jinx him. But it's just that, like, you do see him come off his line and what you would think of as taking risks, but they're always calculated risks. It's like he's got I guess it is an experience thing, right? He's just been through this so many times. He knows the variables. He knows the right thing to do every time.
But I think he's also aware of the mileage and the age he has, which is that maybe when he's 24, he can, I don't know why that's a big difference between 4 and 5, but he can like get off the line super fast.
Because you're still in your early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. There it is. But maybe now he knows he's a step or 2 or 4 slower, so he's not going to try to make that run he would have before.
Yeah.
We have seen those goalkeepers who don't quite recognize that in the moment, and suddenly they're beat to the ball and they end up getting a red card in, say, a Champions League final. Jens Lehmann looking in your direction. So I think that's really impressive. But I think, your key point is you don't see him panic. You don't see him like do anything too stupid or too crazy. And what you do see him do is kind of just be like, yep, I got that. Don't worry about it. Yep. And he pulls off 1 or 2 of those. He did it against Monaco. I think it was Mbappe had a header, and I think Falcao had a header. The Falcao header, he turned over the post, and it was relatively early in the game. And it's just that sort of like
still limber.
Like and it's just he has that ability to be sharp for 90 minutes, even when he's only going to be called upon for 30 seconds. That's what makes him, I think, a very special goalkeeper.
And I may be romanticising this a bit, but there are definitely times I saw in the Champions League, so I've watched the most Juventus, where he will pluck the ball out of the air or catch it after like a header straight at him, and he'll just catch it. And he's got this look on his face like, yeah, I got this. And it seems to like exude calm throughout his team, right? And I'm sure that his composure and confidence is part of it almost like infects in a good way the defense in front of him.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
He's patient zero for like a calmness plague.
That'd be a good plague. I think everyone's just real chill.
It would not be picked up by AMC.
Probably not.
The Walking Dead, everything's good.
The Walking Mellow, yeah.
Pacific Northwest edition.
There it is. I felt like that's what we were steering into. Well done, buddy.
What else we got?
I think.
Oh no, sorry, that was
yours.
That was yours. It's back on me. Sorry, I kind of hijacked your Buffon.
Get your life together
there. Okay, I'll be looking at how the Real Madrid midfield, specifically their ball players, Luka Modric and Toni Kroos, deal with Juventus's defensive game plan, which is Juventus will force you, they'll get compact and they'll try and shuffle you to take the ball into the middle, and then they'll take it off you because they've got lots of bodies in the middle, right? They did this to Monaco. They've done this to many teams this season. Like Khedira or Pjanic or someone will step and take it off you. Luka Modric, under pressure, I don't think that ball can be taken away from him. I think you're going to see Modric surrounded by Juve players snapping at him, and yet he'll drag it back, he'll step over it, he'll move away. And the question is, does he come out of that with the ball, or do Juve eventually win it back?
You're right that the Champions League, or just big sporting events in general, they tend in the end to have like one narrative that like prevails that comes out of it. So it would be like, oh, Tom Brady is so clutch in the final moments of something. And I think I said earlier this week that it was Arizona Cardinals that they beat Atlanta Falcons. My bad on that one. Thank you for whomever corrected me on Twitter. But you're right. I could absolutely see coming out of this one it being this story of like Luka Modric is so unappreciated when you've got all these Galacticos around him. You forget how good he is on the ball and how he made this pass and how he did this under pressure. And I could see that becoming the sort of story coming out of this final.
Yeah, and again, it's the ultimate test for him, I think, because this is like the most sort of compact and sort of snapping at your heels midfield that he'll come up against.
Yep.
The other thing is, the other way out of that Juve trap is Toni Kroos just pick his head up and play one of those perfect, beautiful cross-field balls that he always plays. He could easily just suddenly break out of that Juve pressure and play a cross-field ball.
Right.
So it's all on those two to see what happens.
And it's all about, I think, playing off of that, it's all about which team can find the space that they need to find. So you're right, Toni Kroos could pick his head up, see Carvajal rushing down the right-hand side. Juve have been too compact, and now Carvajal has the entire right side to get down with nobody in front of him.
And he's dangerous when he does that.
And Toni Kroos is dangerous in terms of finding that space.
Yep.
So I think that's the other key thing is who has the time on the ball or who can take the time on the ball to pick out their spots and pick out those available spaces.
Anything else you'll be looking for?
Yeah, since you mentioned that Madrid midfield of Kroos and Modric, there's another player there. It's going to be Casemiro, and I think he could be important.
Have we not mentioned him yet?
No, we have not, I don't think.
Interesting, okay.
And I think he's important, obviously, because he's going to lock down that defense. He will allow Modric and Kroos to roam a little bit because he is going to be doing the kind of defensive organizing and really sitting in front of that back four. But, as we've talked about in other episodes, Atletico Madrid did it in the league. You can pull him out a little bit, and he can sort of what Arsenal did to Chelsea. You can start to get him a little bit frustrated, and he'll start to step up a little bit and try to be on the ball, and that leaves room in behind. And so I do think if there is a team and a manager who can figure out a way to slowly suck Casemiro out, it's Max Allegri and this Juventus side.
The big thing is as well, if Casemiro vacates that defensive midfield space, the man who steps in there is maybe the best player on this Juve team, Paulo Dybala.
I've heard of him.
Yeah?
Yep.
And his left foot. That left foot. I mean, he's so good. He's so good at sort of dribbling tight spaces. He'll suddenly get out of pressure and open things up. So good at shooting with like very little room, very little backlift. He sort of the 2 goals he scored. I can't remember what round it was. Was it against Monaco or the round before, where he was really at a tight angle, but still managed to pull that trigger from distance, left foot, put it in the corner.
Oh, he's good.
He's incredible. Like he may be the next Galactico that they can bid him for example.
I've heard some speculation that
it might be him.
Okay. Yeah, that he's one of the 5 that's on their short list. Who knows if that's accurate? But I think, like with him in mind, this might be the final that I've been most excited to watch in a very long time because there's so many different tactical like chess pieces that can be moved around. It's going to be a lot of strategy, but it's sometimes that can lend itself to being a boring game, but then you've got such talent on that field and such variety of talent in different positions doing different things that you kind of aren't going to be able to look away because if you give Paulo Dybala 5 seconds on the ball, he might be able to find the back of the net. Same goes for Ronaldo. Same goes for, any number of the players that are on there, including, I think, Higuain, although who knows.
The only guy we haven't really talked about in depth is Karim Benzema. Karim Benzema, I feel like, is underappreciated to some extent because he's not as big money famous right now as Bale and Ronaldo. But he does so much good work in terms of coming back, laying the ball off, playing. I think he's really good at sort of playing through balls on the turn. Like he'll come back a little bit, receive it, turn and pass it, and suddenly the defense is split. But I have a hard time seeing him do that against this Juve defense. So that'll be an interesting battle for me. And then there's the classic. I want to come up with a name for this. The classic move where Benzema drifts left and Ronaldo from the left drifts central. And they just basically cross over, and it confuses a lot of defenses. And Ronaldo's in on goal. Again, I'm not sure this works against Juve.
Yeah, it might not, but I think what will work is the kind of awareness of each other and having played together and having the relationship that Benzema and Ronaldo do. Because you're right, sometimes they stay in their space, sometimes they cross paths, sometimes, as we've seen, they'll occupy the same space and overload a defense.
Yes.
And because I think they have that existing relationship and the sort of like... Even though Benzema is linked with move away, I believe every single transfer window, he's still there and he's still scoring goals. And I do think that the two of them...
For a reason, right? Maybe he seems expendable, but when you look at what he does, you're sort of like, oh, actually, we need him.
Yeah, so even if like that switch doesn't work or that running behind doesn't work, I think they can still keep trying different things until eventually they find an opening.
All right, so the game is 2:45 p.m. Eastern.
It's going to be good.
7:45 Cardiff time. It's going to be on Fox. I believe it's on sort of Fox main network, so everyone will be able to watch it. I'm telling you it's on Fox. I'm going to be back home where it's on BT Sport.
I think I'll take Fox.
Well, BT Sport is actually it's a subscription channel, but they're making it available to everybody for this weekend. So I will be able to watch it, and I'll be able to do the review with you. Sunday morning? Yes, I want to say that's saying good to you.
That is the plan.
So we'll be back Sunday morning with our review of Real Madrid versus Juventus in the Champions League Final. Also, USA-Venezuela is coming up.
That is true.
But first, we should let you know today's show is sponsored by X1 Fuel, the pre- and post-workout formula for athletes who expect more from their workout. So we wanted to know which of the Champions League players would benefit from X1 Fuel. Who could do with the ignition before the game to maximize their performance?
All right, that's a key one. The pre-training ignition formula, as we know, gives you an excellent blend of superfood and antioxidants without any of the ups and downs. So it's a consistent performance. It helps you kind of not go up and down, not have peaks, maybe not switch off for a second. And I think a man who needs that more than any other is Keylor Navas. You want him just performing at a steady rate throughout this game. You want him doing what he does, not having a crash, not having low energy for 1 minute when he needs to dive and reach the top corner and just can't get there. X1 Fuels will help him get there.
Okay, I'm going to focus on the sort of the mental aspect. I believe you said when you drank X1 Fuel the first time, you felt a little more alert, a little more focused. I'm going to say the Juve defense need this the most. I'm going to say Giorgio Chiellini needs this the most, not least because he's got to be manhandling Sergio Ramos. He's got to be mentally sharp for 90 plus minutes. 90 minutes not good enough because he can score in 90 minutes plus some seconds.
Yeah, I like it. And I think the key thing here, as we've talked about before, no chemical ingredients, no fillers, no excess sugars. That means if you are one of the players who after the game is randomly selected for the doping test, for the drug test, you're going to be fine. You're not going to have to worry about it.
It's more like legal doping, right? Because acai berries,
Let's not call it legal doping, but I see what you're getting at here.
I said it's like it, not that it is it.
Sure. Either way, I don't think we want to say it is doping. We don't want those words together.
All natural ingredients, no caffeine, no gluten, no artificial sweeteners, and 70% less sugar than Gatorade.
Best of all, TSS listeners can get $15 off when they go with the Performance Bundle membership. That includes both the products, the pre-ignition workout and the post-training recovery formula, as well as the shaker bottle, the X1 Dry Fit shirt, and the on-the-go packs for busy athletes.
I was thinking as well, if Chiellini or Navas wins, they can get their recovery post-training drink and shake it up in the Champions League trophy.
You got to get the springs in there, though, because that's what makes it all frothy.
That's fine.
That's more like a shake.
You can make an exception because you're a Champions League winner.
Yeah, I guess you could do whatever you want, yeah. Do you think people drink? Is it possible to drink out of the Champions League trophy? I know they do with the Stanley Cup, which is one of the many reasons why that is the best trophy on the planet. But are there other? I don't know if you can or not.
I don't know if you can.
You should be able to.
We'll see.
Definitely should.
We'll see. Maybe Navas or Chiellini will be drinking X1 Fuel out of the Champions League trophy. As Taylor said, Total Soccer 15 is the code to get $15 off every shipment of the Performance Bundle. Thank you to X1 Fuel for sponsoring today's episode. That offer expires June 5th. It is a short-term offer. Moving on. USA versus Venezuela. This game is Saturday night, June 3rd, 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Mountain Time. It's at the Rio Tinto Stadium in Utah.
Is it weird that we have USA versus like adult Venezuela, and then the next morning we've got USA baby Venezuela?
4 hours later, we have USA versus baby Venezuela. Yeah, it feels wrong, right? It feels like the U20 should come first as like the appetizer.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the main event should
be
the
undercard. Yeah. Although, actually, I think in this situation, a friendly probably is the undercard. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, let's talk about this USA v Venezuela friendly then. The basic idea is that we're playing this at altitude at Rio Tinto for the friendly. Then the World Cup qualifier against Trinidad is at higher altitude in Denver. Then against Mexico away, World Cup qualifier is at the Azteca at the most altitude. But we know that. We know Bruce Arians picked a 27-man roster. We don't really know how he plans to use this Venezuela game.
We don't.
Will it be to use experimental players like, say, Matt Hedges? Or will he just roll out the team that is going to start against Trinidad and be like, hey, guys, let's get a whole match of practice?
I think a little bit of both, because he did make that comment, right, of like, I'm glad I have 5 subs so I can change things up a little bit.
Yeah, but I feel like he's just grasping at vagaries in order to give an answer without giving away any information.
Yeah, that could be. But my guess would be that we'll see him, as I think I said before, we'll see him go with somewhat of the lineup that he's going to go with, maybe at least in that Trinidad game. So, for example, I expect Jorge Villafana to start at left back.
Okay.
Rather than, say, DeMarcus Beasley, because I think you want to get Villafana just a little more acclimated, both in terms of the elevation, but also just in terms of starting for the U.S. national team, because it is still a relatively new thing for him. So you want like players like that, maybe you want to get them a little bit more experience, but then I think maybe you will see some of those substitutes used to bring in players like Matt Hedges to give them that call-up that he missed out on in January.
Yeah, so you think maybe he won't get a full game, but maybe he'll get 30 minutes here or there just to get on the field again?
Yeah, and then maybe you'll see Bobby Wood like just in a little bit of a different attacking position than maybe he's been used in the past, just to see if he can function there. Or you'll see just a couple guys moved around just a little bit. I could see that happening. Then again, it might just be a straight up, this is going to be the starting 11 against Trinidad. I want to get them 45 minutes, and then we'll make some changes.
I think my other idea, we talked about this briefly when the roster was named, that there'll be a different shape against Trinidad than there will be against Mexico. Like, we'll be more attacking against Trinidad. It might be Altidore and Dempsey with Pulisic in behind. So it's like a 4-4-2 sort of, but more like a 4-1-3-2. There's the only defensive midfielder is Michael Bradley. Everyone else is attacking ahead of him. And then maybe against Mexico, you get a midfield partner for Michael Bradley who does some extra defensive work as well. And then there's only one striker, right? And maybe Pulisic is out wide, Dempsey's underneath Altidore. So you get a bit more conservative. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see both those shapes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a shape change against Venezuela so that Arena gets to see the two shapes in one game.
So who do you want to see then in terms of like players that you'd like to see starting? Do you want to see, say, Kellen Acosta starting with Michael Bradley in the middle just so you get some reps there?
Yes, because we only got, 15 minutes of Acosta, 20 minutes of Acosta when he substituted in for Jermaine Jones in the game against Panama, I believe. I'm not sure if he played against Honduras. I wouldn't mind seeing those two start even. So I could see that. Or I could see him coming in at half-time, partnering Bradley. But I also wouldn't be surprised if like Dax McCarty gets some minutes so that Bradley doesn't have to play 90. So maybe this could all fall apart by the end with a lot of substitutions. And it's just about getting guys on the field.
I mean, friendlies are always difficult because as soon as you start making the fourth and fifth substitutions, it takes away a little bit of the significance because then it's like, I mean, that's what we always criticized Jurgen Klinsmann for was, that's great you won the game with your fifth substitute. It doesn't really matter as much.
It's not good practice for the real thing.
So I think you have to focus on at least those first 45 just to see if it is totally experimental. Then maybe you can not even worry about that so much and just look at it as an opportunity to get guys minutes and get everybody kind of clicking in a game before you get into the true competitive games.
So we're thinking first 45 serious, second 45 maybe some experimentation.
Yes, unless you see like Matt Hedges and Ethan Horvath in the starting 11, in which case
I've got to be honest, I'd be excited just to see that happen though, just to see what they're all about.
All right, I'm with you on that. I would be very excited to see Ethan Horvath. As I talked about with Will Parchman, I'm in that same boat that I think in terms of the four goalkeepers that have called in, I'm most excited to see Ethan Horvath there. I love Tim Howard. I like Brad Guzan. I love Nick Raimondo. But I think I'm ready to see some new blood given some opportunities.
I've never heard such damning by faint praise. Would you be confident
I think it's just because we've never I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. You correct me. I'm sure people on Twitter will. Have we had that game where Brad Guzan was like, really made us all be like, okay, Brad Guzan's got this?
I want to say USA away to Mexico at the Azteca when we got that draw. I think Brad Guzan
when I might have been out of the country, so that might have factored into it a little bit.
I think that was
I'm always like, I remember loving Brad Friedel, and then Casey Keller starts in 2006 and sort of being like, you're great. But I remember what Brad Friedel did in 2002. And I think maybe that's what Brad Guzan is for me, is because he's so often and for so long has been the understudy that it's tough to then be like, yep, you got this, especially when you're playing on a team that got relegated and then you've been sold mid-season. I don't really know what to make of this anymore.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. It's almost like he was understudy for too long, and by the time it's time to claim the throne, he's already like past his very, very best.
Yeah. He's aged out of the role.
He's a little bit Prince Charles.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Should we talk about Venezuela?
By the way, I didn't mean that literally as in he's like too old for the position. I mean he's like he was cast as...
Prince Charles isn't too old to be king, but it won't be as exciting as when he was sort of this like handsome young man.
Oh yeah, but I meant if we're going with like the theater metaphor then, or simile, whatever it is, that like he was the understudy for like the fresh-faced 20-year-old, and suddenly he's 32 and like, now's your chance, kid. It's like, maybe you don't look twice so 20 anymore.
You're too old to be in rent.
A little bit.
Should we look at Venezuela? So the player that most people will know is Joseph Martinez. That would have been the guy to be scared of. Atlanta player, banging in goals in MLS start the season, got himself injured. He's not in the squad for this game.
He is not. The other one that some people might remember from the Copa America Centenario, I liked him a lot in that tournament, is Thomas Rincon. He is not going to be there because he is selfishly going to be at the Champions League Final.
Yeah, it got me thinking about, this is back to Champions League Final again. Juve have so many second-string players that are incredible players. Like Rincon, what's his name, Lemina? Yeah, those are two guys that you'd be like singing their praises elsewhere, but they're on the bench for Juve.
You're starting left back from your from your CAF 11, your Africa 11.
Yeah.
Asamoah is still Juve. Yeah, Juve, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the guy who will be playing that we know all about is Salomon Rondon, big West Brom centre-forward. Whoever starts a centre-back for the US is going to have trouble in the air with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's safe to say because he's also like the obvious threat, right? He's the big guy who can win the balls in the air, he can settle it, and he can play back to goal. So it's going to be a physical battle, and then it's going to be maybe Matt Hedges or your starting center backs having to deal with him and having to kind of respond to the big physical aerial threat.
You know who'll be pleased to see him? DeAndre Yedlin.
Oh, yeah, he will.
Do you remember Rondon saved Yedlin from flipping on his head? He caught him and put him back the right side up and then sent him on his way.
Yeah. Also, it occurs to me now, like, if you're looking at this game as true preparation for Trinidad and Mexico. So Mexico likely to start Javier Hernandez up top, at least as like that central striker. Could be Jimenez, but probably Chicharito. And he, even if he is a little bit smaller, has a, I believe, 75-inch vertical. So, I mean, he can jump. So you've got to deal with that aerial threat. Trinidad, likely to have Kenwyne Jones.
Yeah.
He's big. He's strong. He can battle in the air. So maybe having Rondon as your kind of tester opponent is a very good starting point for the U.S. defense.
That's interesting. Yeah, okay. I'll be looking out for that then. Also, I just got myself thinking about Yedlin. We haven't seen him in a U.S. shirt in a long time.
It's been a minute, yep.
I've heard him talking about how Rafa Benitez has been working with him about like when to go forward and what to do and how to defend. We may see a new and improved DeAndre Yedlin.
See, thank you for that point, because that's kind of exactly what I'm talking about when I say like a semi-experimental 11. Like, you don't think of a US 11 with DeAndre Yedlin at right back as being experimental, but we know he's developed his game. We know he's changed it a little bit. It's not just all about counterattacking and getting forward and using that speed. That he's added
fast in a straight line.
Yeah, that he's added nuances to his game and he's increased his defensive ability, at least from what we've heard and read. Yeah. So again, I think it's going to be a different DeAndre Yedlin than we've seen previously playing for the U.S. At least that's my hope and that's my expectation. So that's where I feel like it is a little bit different to have him there and just making sure that he can do what Bruce Arena wants him to do in that role.
And now I've got thinking about it. The guys that we're kind of familiar with, but we're seeing grow into the team, Darlington and Nagbe. It'll be interesting to see where he plays and what his role is, because I know Arena has been encouraging him to sort of be more aggressive. Remember Arena's first couple of games, Nagbe was quite happy like cutting inside and shooting a lot.
Yeah.
You might see that encouraged a bit more. And there's always Christian Pulisic to watch.
And I was just thinking about him
I'm excited to watch the USA-Venezuela friendly.
Yeah.
Talk myself into it.
Yeah, there you go. Except you're probably not going to watch it, though, is my guess.
It will be 3 a.m. in England.
Yeah, so you're not going to watch it. Maybe you'll watch the highlights on DVR?
I'll watch it the next day.
Sure you will. I'm curious about this. We've talked about it a little bit, like when Christian Pulisic came out like against Cuba and clearly looked like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
There is going to come a point where they're going to, like, not that he's in any way proven himself to be arrogant or shown himself to, like, sort of be like, what am I doing here, prima donna? But, like, at a certain point, he does just become, like, far and away the best player the U.S. has, right? Like, some would say he may already be, but I mean more so, like, he's coming in as a teenager who's just won the DFB Pokal. He's, like, the youngest player ever to win silverware in Europe or to win a major.
US,
yeah. And so, good point. There have been younger people winning different things. But it's just like you kind of look around that team and you're sort of like, what else have you all done? And explain to me why I'm not the best player on this team right now already.
We need Josh Sargent to start winning things and come and challenge Pulisic's crown.
Yeah. That said, I think I just saw a stat that Clint Dempsey, in terms of active goal scorers, is number 3 in the world. Behind Ronaldo and Messi. Maybe at international level, maybe not at club level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But in terms of international play, I think he is number 3 in the world. So maybe he's got a little bit of like, hey kid, it's the fedora situation once again from Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade.
Don't get cocky.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Harrison Ford double. There we go.
Okay, the game once again, USA-Venezuela. It's Saturday, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. It's on Fox Sports 1. I'll be watching on Fox Soccer to go.
All right.
VPN permitting. All right. Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy. And on behalf of all the TSS listeners, safe travels.
Thank you.
We look forward to having you back. In the meantime, I'm going to be lining up some interviews. I'm going to be doing some different calls. I might try to do a couple of different competitions. Maybe have another Wikipedia game in studio.
Without me?
We shall see. Well, we got to find, maybe we need to do like a bracket of like, we'll have 6. This is completely speculation. Daryl and I have not talked about this.
Yeah.
But maybe what we need to do is we need to have like your top 6 contenders, and we'll get like 3 playing and then 3 playing. From those 3, we'll get the winner of each, and then you can have like the Champions edition.
We could have an actual Eastern Conference and Western Conference.
So we got to. All right. So I got to find people on the West Coast. We got to get like Lawless and 3 other people or 2 other people. In the entire West Coast, I couldn't think of anybody off the top of my head. Not great by me. Maybe showing that I've had 4 hours of sleep.
We'll workshop this some more.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Taylor. I'm going to miss you, buddy, but I'm sure I'll be talking to you over the next couple of weeks.
I think so.
Listeners, I hope you enjoy.
I should add that it's not as though you're going to be gone for 2 weeks. We're still going to have you on the phone. You're still going to be there helping me break down the Champions League final, for example.
Yep.
So you'll still be able to hear the voice of Daryl Grove, listeners. Don't worry. Don't fret.
Right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We know other podcasts are available. We really appreciate when you listen to this one. And here's wishing you a happy Champions League weekend.